Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
All right, thank you. I was waiting for that. I was lots of love there. I am the founder of Coventry Creations, where we make the Blessed Herbal Candles. I'm also one of the partners over at the Candlewick Shop. And I've been doing this witchy stuff for over 30 years, which is really hard for me to say. I just want to let you know that this is, I am Jackie, and I've been doing witchcraft for 30 years. It's like a little moment. But, so what made you guys want this to attend this class as the candle burns? What was it that was exciting to you that you wanted to hear? Or was it just me?
It's just
Oh,
you.
it's always
No.
you here.
I've always been interested in candles. I mean, even when I was a teenager, I used to just like drip wax like over bottles and stuff, you know. But
Cool.
just that flame, just I don't know. There's just something very peaceful about
You played in the
candles.
wax too, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's the fun stuff right here.
And I've
You know.
had piss poor luck with actual candle magic.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're here because we're gonna talk about a different perspective on that. And so, anyone else have anything?
I always like the questions where they're like, well, what does this mean? The wax burn this way or this way? You know, so it's
Well,
like,
yeah, and there's gonna be a question answer stuff at the end, but I'm gonna twist things around a little bit for you guys. So, what this class is about, what we can expect in this class is I'm going to give you a different perspective on candle magic and on magic in general. A lot of times we feel that magic is very straightforward. I need money, I need to do a prosperity spell. I'm looking for more love in my life, I'm gonna do a love spell. This person's pissing me off, I'm gonna do a binding or getaway or a cursing spell, you know, random. But really, is anything ever straightforward?
But we frown upon cursing stuff.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. I don't judge. But is anything ever straightforward? No, the story is never what you think it is. The story is never, if you're in an argument with someone at work, what you may not realize is their story, their backstory. I mean, it's never straightforward. Even when you're in an argument with your friends, you get focused in on your perspective and your own pain, and you forget that there's something on the other side, that there's something in that's motivating that other person, and then you forget that there's other things deeper underneath your own self that's motivating you, right? So it's never straightforward. I need some money, I need to do a money spell. Is that really what you need to do? Or do you need to do something that gets you a better job? Or do you need to do something that helps your self-esteem come up? Or do you need to do something to get rid of the bills? You know, or do you need to do something really crazy and do healing work? So to me, magic and healing is the exact same thing. Because if it wasn't broken, you wouldn't do a spell around it. If it wasn't broken, it would need to be healed. So here's the thing, is that we are our best and most interesting drama. We make the best soap operas of our own lives, and we look very inward. We work from the inside out, and we look through all of our filters and all of our experiences and our fears. And those conditions, they can get in the way, and they can skew how we're seeing a situation and get to the truth of the situation. And it also leads to very confusing situations, and we want to peek ahead. We want the inside track. That's why we do readings, right? That's why we like the tarot. That's why we want to know what the candle burning means. We want to peek ahead. Did our magic work? Didn't it work? Because we want the inside track. That's why we're all drawn to magic. I mean, really. We don't quite trust 100%. So what I want to talk about is this year, 2016, and what the energy is we're already dealing with, because that's the first layer of any magic that you're dealing with. You got to deal with your environment. Sometimes your environment is, oh, I'm at work, or this is a home situation, or this is the energy around me, but a lot of times we forget completely about the energy going on for the year, astrologically, the number of the building that we're in, all of these things. So if we start there, so let's start with the fact that we're in a 9 year. This is a very interesting year. We're in a number 9. The tarot card is the Hermit. There's some interesting astrological aspects going on there. They're going to spank us, and we're going to work against. But this year, the words for this year are wait, release, inner wisdom, and complete. That doesn't sound very exciting, does it? Wait. This is, if you can remember one thing from this class, remember that the word for this year that sums up the energy for this year is wait. And I am a very dynamic, forward-moving, pushy broad who doesn't like to wait. And feels that waiting is a little bit of a dirty word. So I really had to meditate on this for a minute.
I took it the other way, like the weight of rope.
No, not that weight. Not this weight, because it takes a lot of pie to make this weight.
Not that much pie.
But if we look at the number for the year, 2 + 1 + 6 is a 9. And the 9 is also the Hermit card. So let's talk about that number 9 and the word wait. The joy of that is that the worst is over. When you look at any of the 9s in the tarot cards, you're not at the great 10 completion, but you're at the worst is over. You've gone through the hard part, and you're cleaning up the mess, or you're rejuvenating, but it's all about waiting, even more so than a 7, because you're gathering up all of the knowledge that you've gained from all the work that you've done. So if we look at this right now, that's what we're doing. We are reaping what we've sown. But it's actually past the reaping of what you've sown. Now you're kind of starting to live off it. And it's not the next step. There's not the new thing. This is when we want to start the new things, when we think we're done. But we need to pause for a moment and say, we're in the wait stage. This is what I've earned, this is what I've done, and this is what I've harvested. Now I have to look at, how do I apply all this? How is this going to feed me for the rest of my life? Number 9, and the word wait, is for that moment of the perfect harvest. When you're waiting just for that perfect moment to bring everything together. It's very frustrating.
Oh, that
Yeah.
heat.
You're right, wait is a dirty word.
Wait is a dirty word, but it's a very important word, because if we don't wait, when we've gathered up all of our knowledge, and when we've, think about at the end of your project, studying for a test. Number 9 is the moment between finishing studying for that test and taking the test. It's the moment where you say, do I have everything I need? Let's meditate on this. Let's wait. Let's let all of this knowledge absorb. Let's see how I apply all this knowledge that I have. So it's a very important part, and it's that stillness, again, that allows you to see how you can apply all this. So again, wait, release, inner wisdom, and complete. Because everything has a cycle. I mean, we have the wheel of the year right behind you. Everything has a cycle. And there's times when you grow real fast. We're about to get into that growth season, and we're actually in that wait moment right now before spring begins and that crazy growth season goes. But if we didn't have the darkness, if we didn't have the shadow to wait within, we would always grow, and unrestricted growth is cancer. So you have to have that time when you lean back and you contemplate everything that you've created in your life. And that's what, again, I'm just kind of spend some time on this number 9 and this time of gentle waiting, because it's very important. I was reminded of it this morning. I have a big project that I'm about to do. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's very exciting. It's one of the biggest investments I've done. I got my plan. I got everything that's going on. And Monday is the day I was going to launch it. And then as I'm looking at everything, and a few things came about to interfere, I could still launch it, But I remembered I gotta wait to the right time. Now is not the time to pull the trigger. I'm gonna wait one more month. I'm gonna be in a better place. I'm gonna feel more confident. I'll have a new person in place and trained, and we can really roll with it. It'll be an easier motion. But this was supposed to start in January, right? So I'm taking a breath. It is, but you're not, so when you're waiting, you think you're standing still, but you're not. Wait is not about standing still. It's about absorbing it. But it's also about not direct action. This is you're finishing the projects. You're finishing, there's not, new things will be coming up left and right, but watch what's coming up. It's usually about finishing what you've started. It's about, okay, I started this whole process and now I'm at the end of it, and am I gonna tie up all the loose ends and make it awesome, or am I just gonna start the next thing? So this is what this power of this time is about. And you'll be frustrated, and you will want to do new things, and you'll have new needs, because as you are waiting and you realize you missed this piece and this piece, it's gonna feel like a new need, but it's not a new need, it is the tying up of the loose ends. And you can even see it right now, I don't wanna say globally, but in our country. Look at who's running. We're finishing some cycles here. Even a Storm, who is my radio partner and my astrologer, and teaches me all things astrological, and I help make that sense. You know, he starts talking up here, and then I go, so what does it mean? And we get down to the practical, and it was interesting. He said we're in the end of a 19-year cycle, as well as this number 9. So when we were doing the radio show the other day, he said, think about what you were doing in 1997 and how you've cycled back into it, and you're finishing or repeating those things from 1997. Who was president in 1997?
I can't remember.
Clinton.
Was it Clinton?
So, yeah. So think about these things that we're cycling, and you can see it on the stage, and we're all waiting to see what happens. All of these things were started way before this year, and we're frozen. We gotta wait to see what happens. I'm not getting political. I'm not gonna say who I'm for, but you're gonna experience this year loss and confusion.
Yes, go the only nice
it's
guy
been
in the election.
crazy.
Yeah.
I know Sim has.
So in those moments of loss and confusion, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna reach for our magic, because we're magical practitioners. We're gonna reach for different resolutions. So when you get to that place, you gotta remember we're in a time of releasing all the things that didn't work, waiting, contemplating, gathering your wisdom. So before you do anything, and this is what I've been doing as well, before I do anything this year, I am getting into that place of wait with the candles. So my first magic that I do, if you think about it, like if you're going to try and do something new, but we're in a number 9, which is not about new, it's about completing, but you still gotta do something new. Well, what do you need to do? You need to gather up all your wisdom, gather up what you know, see how this applies, and then move forward. So when you get yourself in the place of you're very frustrated, you don't know what to do next, everything seems confusing, everything is a false start, all of these things, that's when you want to reach for, which is the first thing in your thing, stability, truth and justice, and heart. Now, stability is because that's what number 9 is. It's about you've created that stability. And so where are you? Truth and justice is what is the wisdom that I've gathered already? And then heart is how do I really feel about it? And then when you gather that energy around you, and then you set your intention out, now you're going to make some action in your life. You're going to realize that, oh, this isn't a new thing. This is part of my completion. One of my theories is the best time to do magic, the absolute best time to do magic, is when you need it. I don't wait for a moon. I don't wait for the time of day. I don't wait for a season, because it's all in how you spin it. So let's say you need some money and we're in a waning mood. It's really hard to pull in the tide when the tide is moving out, right? Well, what if instead of worrying about bringing money to you, you remove the obstacles to money, you remove the bills, you remove your issues, you remove, so it's all about what's my energy right now, how do I need to shift my need to embrace the energy that's surrounding me. We're in a slow moving year where it feels like you're driving with the brakes on. And so what do you need to do? You need to gather that about you. And so that number 9 is about the stability, truth and justice, and the heart. So getting centered in yourself, forgiving yourself of all the things that you've missed on this journey. And then from there, and whether it's you're using the Coventry candles, which of course I highly recommend, or you're doing stuff with your stones or your herbs, just remember those energies. And we love the number 3. So that triangle of energy, that trifecta of energy, it's the reason why I love the number 3 is because you've moved past the idea, past the inception, into action. 3, that I always say that the smaller number of things that you use in your spell, the more powerful it is. When you get into like 9 and 10 and 13 things, etc., the energy can get very confusing and you can create conflicting energy. That's why I like to do 3, maybe 5, but my favorite number is 3. And you think about that triangle, that great foundation, that solidness that it creates. So this also is going to bring you connection to your deeper need. When we talked about, let's get to the deeper story. Get to the deeper story of what's going on. So that's the first layer. Are you with me still?
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's not quite what you thought this class was going to be, is it? Because we're going to take a different perspective on things. And the first layer is, what am I dealing with this year? Now, my good friend Storm, my astrologer, although I am not an astrologer, I'm great at putting pieces together and figuring out how to make magic work the way I want it to work. One of the things he told me is that there's 3 major aspects going on this year that's affecting us globally. Since last November, it started last November, and it's going to go through mid-2016, which is Jupiter squaring Saturn. And then starting in November, which is going to go to September of this year, but it will affect pretty much the whole year, is Saturn squaring Neptune. And we're going to get into more details about that. And then starting in August through December, and let's think about what's going to happen in our country from August through December, Jupiter squaring Pluto and opposes Uranus. So it's all conflicted, so it's going to be fun. We'll get into that in a second. So, and in the middle of this, we have a lot of things. We talk about the bigger energy and how it's affecting our magic. There's a lot of things that are going on that are going to affect us. We have, we talked about the primaries, the elections, and because we're, so many of us are so absorbed with that, there's UN energy conferences, which are going to shift how we deal with energy in the world. There's Federal Reserve meetings, and those scare me more than the elections. And then there's a lot of shifting that's going to be happening in the way we see things, and that's mainly because in the beginning, and starting on March 23rd, which is Monday, is the day where Jupiter squares Saturn specifically. Even though the energy is affecting us from November through July, this is that's a hot button day, so Monday. Just remember to breathe. You might have to start over a few times. Well, then write it down. If you forget, then I can't help you. So let's talk about Jupiter squaring Saturn. Now, I don't know if we have an astrologers here, but Jupiter is the planet that talks about optimism and expansion and ideals. So Jupiter is where we go, oh, I can do that. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I know how. So in Jupiter is is in a positive aspect in your chart, big growth happens, big ideas happen, life changes happen, new identities happen.
But
Saturn is realism, concrete foundation, material things. So when Saturn's really heavily influencing your chart is when you rebuild your foundation and you feel great, and you maybe do work on your house, or even get a new house, or you get nostalgic about your childhood. So that's your foundation and material things. Hardcore, right there in your hand. Very solid, very practical. Squaring is when they're at odds with each other. So your idealism, your optimism, your expansion is at odds with your foundation, your realism, your material things. So they challenge each other, they're stressing each other. That's what we're in the middle of right now. That's why we're all really tired, because we have our ideals and what we want to do, and then we have the reality of what can happen. And that is exactly why. Who here has been tired over the last several weeks? Like exhausted. Like this morning I went, oh, for the love of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, I don't want to get up.
No, but I've been feeling like a pressure cooker and feeling jittery.
Right, that is Jupiter.
actually, I think that last
Squaring.
one is pronounced Jesus.
Jupiter squaring Saturn is what is making it really hard for us to move forward, like walking through molasses. And that's what's going on. So, our vision of our better world is being challenged by our realism and our physical manifestation. So, what I've already made and the foundation I've already created, and then my ideas of where I want to go next, those two things don't seem to be too compatible. You're going to take inventory of where you are. Who here is taking inventory of where you are and what you want to pursue? And then you got to say, this is what I got to cut back on. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And then it creates that instability, and it creates that confusion and frustration, and I don't know what to do next. It's like, all right, here's my plan and I'm working it. And then it doesn't work out the way you want it to, or worse. So that's why we have that first word of wait. Because you're figuring it out. You're watching how this is going to work with this. Now this is not a bad thing, because this is also about finding the right solution, which is again what wait is about. Remember, it's the perfect time to harvest. The solution is not in my pocket today. It's coming though. And it makes you, or it gives you the opportunity to get intimately familiar with what you already know. And it's interesting, just having a conversation last night with my friend Orion Foxwood, who's going to be at the Pagan Fest.
Okay.
Listen, if you want to feel like you're going to Pagan church, go listen to Orion, because darling, he talks with that southern accent. He talks about bringing the spirit down, and he is one of the most amazing orators I know. He grew up going to tent revivals and everything, but he's a good pagan. But as we were talking, our conversation immediately led to, what is our superpower? What do we already know? What have we already mastered? And circling back to that. And that the people who are coming to us want that core base information. So circling back to that. And so that was our conversation, and I didn't bring it up. I'm watching people bring it up all over the place. Like, what is our base? What do we already know? Let's move from our base, and that's what this time is about, is reacquainting yourself with your core and your foundation, and then moving on from there. So, when you're feeling so frustrated and you're feeling like you're trying to walk through a vat of molasses, is time to grab that energy and then make it work for you. Which brings us to number 2. Problem solving for Jupiter, right? Because Jupiter's expansion, new ideas, idealism, so that's really our problem solving. And then stability for Saturn, because that's our foundation, our materialism, those tangible things in life. And then you bring in an inner balance. Then you work that balance between the two of them. Grab onto those energies and then work the balance between the two of them. Yep, you're going to get a little frustrated. your frustration. So, what was it I said in the class icon? On this hand, you write, people suck. And on this hand, you write, it's okay. So there's going to be that internal struggle between your vision and your reality. So if you are working on something new, remember that thing that new that doesn't want to happen this year? You're working on something, so then you bring that problem solving to your stability. So this is an amazing opportunity also to take your dreams and your visions and your expansion, your optimism, and bring them into the practical world so that you can manifest them a little easier, but in a way that stays. Isn't that great when we can do something that sticks? Because we work really hard, and then we think, all right, I got this. I'm on this. I've got this. And then tomorrow you don't. Well, this Jupiter squaring Saturn is an amazing opportunity. Again, it's all opportunities for you to see what's really going to work for the long term. You with me still? So again, all right, you got your big problem. Start here. Start with pulling. It's never what you think it is. Think you need to do a prosperity spell. If it was a prosperity spell, the last time you lit that green candle, the last time you lit a chime candle, the last time you put extra change in your pocket with some oil on it, it would have been resolved. That's just a Band-Aid. Let's get into resolving the big issue. So all of these issues that you're coming up with, all these roadblocks in this year of waiting, are opportunities to heal and resolve what's going on. So why not take it? So it comes up, light those 3 candles, problem solving, stability, and inner balance, and then you go, oh, here's how I can bring my fantasy world, well, that's Neptune, my optimism world into my reality. And that's what this opportunity is about. Astrology is all about opportunities to grab onto that. So then the next thing we have is Saturn squaring Neptune. Remember I said about fantasies? That's Neptune. Remember what I said about Saturn? Foundation. Foundation, concrete decision, stability. Neptune is about dreaming and delusions and very nebulous, flowing energy that doesn't stand still. Think of it as like dancing by the fire when everyone's drumming. That's Neptune. Saturn.
I'll just stay there.
Right. No matter where you go, there's always fire dancers, whether there's a fire or not. Now Saturn likes to crystallize everything into a concrete answer, and Neptune likes to be very nebulous and unending and no form, and they're squaring each other. That's going to be a little rough now, isn't it? And so again, this is part of this. It's been going on since November. This is part of this tiredness. Again, trying to swim or walk through all that molasses or trying to drive with your brakes on, there's no forward motion in this because, you know that moment at work or in life, my work is my life, so I always go there, but the moment in life where you know what you want to do, but you know what you should do, and those two things are not the same, and then you battle, and it's just exhausting. It's just, I know what I got, I need this and that. Or you're counseling a friend who has what they want to do and knows what they should do, and you have that conversation, and at the end of that conversation you're just tired as all hell. Like, you have just drained me.
It could be they're a vampire.
Well, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just a tough decision. It's your own tough decision. And that's the energy that we're in right now. So give yourselves a break. Don't get so mad. Get some good sleep, because you're going to need it. Because you're getting yanked out of the fantasy of what life is like. Again, think about what's going on in this world. We thought we were really kind of very accepting and nurturing of each other and loving, and we were coming into a more loving world. That fantasy is now broken. It's crashed. It's shattered. Even people who are trying to be loving to each other, or in a loving group of people, you're seeing them at conflict with each other. So those fantasies that we have moved beyond some of these primal things of fear and striving to own more of the land or whatever we're trying to own more of. So there was a thought we had back in the 90s, or maybe the early 2000s, that all we needed was our vision board and our secret, and that if we thought about it really hard and set our intentions, and it would come to pass.
Oh, sorry.
Bless your heart.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Because then the reality is, our reality is clashing against a whole bunch of other realities.
So now we're in that uncomfortable truth that that's not real. It takes more than your vision board. It takes more than just putting, I really want it. And it takes more than that to make that happen, because we got to grow and learn through it. We've got to, the reality of I can manifest anything that I put my mind to meets the reality of I have to go through the growing and learning process to fully manifest it, which means I'm going to experience pain. I want to be a different person, and I want this to be a loving world where it's the Star Trek utopia where, there's equality everywhere and all that jazz, even though it was a really white cast, I'm just saying.
And no gay people.
So, that we already, we have this utopia, but you have to go through the growing process of going, to reach that utopia, we have to get real about what's really going on. And so that's this Saturn square Neptune, and that's what we're experiencing. So we're experiencing learning about all the things that are in our way. All of the bottlenecks and roadblocks we've created, and that's what this is all about. But it's really important to find those. Because if you don't see them, if they're that invisible block, if they're your blind spot, and you keep going up against them, so this is a brilliant opportunity to see them, work with them, and heal with them. So emotion is a big deal. Neptune is very emotional. So depressive energies are really, we're going to be prone to that right now. Again, let's own this energy. What's this energy going on? Because if we start doing some candle magic or magic, crystal magic or herbal magic or high magic or whatever you're going to do, and it doesn't work and it doesn't work and it doesn't work, it gets very depressing. And then you start to question your belief system. And am I just kidding myself? And am I just living in a fantasy? But that's this Saturn square Neptune energy going on right now. So grab that energy and use it. So what are our opportunities? Our opportunities are wait, to gather all of our knowledge, to see what kind of life we created, and then the next opportunity we have is release. We can release what doesn't work for us anymore. We can release the ideals that we have that don't work. We can release the fantasies and the delusions of what's real and what's not real. Because, what did I read in a comment about this event? None of us got our initiation through watching a season of Charmed.
Yeah.
So, right. So that's not how it works. And
Well, eventually they
some
incorporated real things into
well,
that, but it's
let me do my class, Peter.
There.
Basically, one of my core beliefs is completely at odds with Charmed, which is the only person you can do magic on is yourself. So their theory is you can never do magic for yourself, but the only magic you can do is for yourself. It starts here. Even as a healer or somebody who helps other people do magic, the first magic you do is on yourself to bring the spirit down, to bring all the energy down, so then you can help heal the person who needs to affect some change in their life. But we can't change other people because they got free will. And if you don't believe me, go try. It's very frustrating. My daughter does not want to do what I want her to do. No, just kidding. She's great. But when she was younger, that 3-year-old free will kind of thing, let's bring some calming herbs around her and bring this. That was bullshit. That was not going to happen because she was in the middle of her 3-year-old free will, which is a very, very powerful, powerful energy. And if we can bottle that, boy, we'd make millions. So this is the time where we can learn what really makes us happy. not our delusions, not our fantasies, but this is the time where we're learning what really makes us happy. But if we get depressed and if we fall into that pessimism that is very prone right now, we're going to get lost. So again, we're going to gather this energy and we're going to figure this stuff out. We're going to figure out what makes us happy. So now we're on to number 3, Saturn square Neptune. We're going to use stability for Saturn. Got a pattern? You seen our pattern? Stability is Saturn. Emotional balance for Neptune. And happiness to bring the light, divinity, and hope back into what you're doing. So how powerful is that? How many times have we gone through life and I wish I knew what made me happy. I wish I knew what my passions were. But this is the opportunity to really find that out. Because when you ask for that, when you ask to find out what makes you happy, when you ask to find out what your passions are, the first thing you're shown is what doesn't make you happy. The first thing you're shown is the fantasies that you've put in place and the delusions that you've put in place. Or the first thing you're shown is your addictions, because they don't make you happy. All they do is fill the space that happiness should occupy. All they do in happiness, this is a brilliant piece of spiritual healing that I learned through the Kabbalists I'm studying with. And there is a term called klipat in the Kabbalah. And a klipat is the space that we create between us and the divine. And that space is filled with negativity, disappointment, negative talk about people, judgment, gossip. None of us do that. Fears. So that fills this space. Or maybe I call it even a short circuit, like here's the divine, here's me. I got some direct connects from this idea, but then I get afraid and then I create this short circuit of this space in this direct connection. And so what happens is then we start filling, if we have enough of these spaces between us and the divine, we're not getting those bursts of energy that we look to the divine for. Those bursts of inspiration, those moments where you are one with the energy that created you by any other name. It is one of the most beautiful moments ever. There's nothing that can replace it. And we have those moments frequently. We have those moments more than we ever think we do. In an amazing conversation with someone, or when someone cries on your shoulder and you can bring them comfort, or watching a baby laugh without reserve are those moments. When you help someone, when you give somebody a great day by saying, "You look amazing," and it's a stranger and you've never met them before and you'll never see them again. Those are the moments when the divine fills you. But if you have enough of those klipats, and you don't have that space, you have all this negativity around you, and the divine can't fill you, we look for those bursts of energy elsewhere. And where we look for those bursts of energy is in addiction. We get, whether we're addicted to food and that's the best damn chocolate cake I've ever had in my life, or we're addicted to pleasing people because we get their burst of divine energy through them to us. Sometimes we get that addiction in the high we feel when we're on drugs or drinking a lot. So addiction is not necessarily this substance creates this chemical reaction in you. Addiction is replacing the connection to the divine with something else to fill those spots. And so how we get rid of the klipats is that we do nice things. We fill it with joy, we fill it with happiness. The best way to get rid of those klipats is ask the divine to take authority over them and show us a different way. When we do that, when we're shown a different way, the first thing we have to see is the pain. When you scrub the pot to get to the shiny part, the first thing you have to see is the dirt. And that's okay. And that's what astrology does for us. Well, astrology, that's what we figured out in astrology, but that's what happens within the planetary movements, is that they give us opportunities to learn these things. So when you're finding yourself in that really depressive place where you're losing hope, we're going to grab these energies. We're going to grab the energy of Saturn, which is the stability. We're going to grab the energy of Neptune, which is the emotional balance, and we're going to bring the happiness in there to say, I am now creating an opportunity to find out what makes me happy. And we got to move through that pain a little bit, but it helps us have the energy and the support to do it. And that's what magic is about. It's about pulling in that energy you need to create that healing in your life. It doesn't create healing without repercussion. Magic, that's called a Band-Aid. Magic is healing. And what happens when we heal, we hurt a little. We have to move backwards through the damage. But the journey is so worth it when you get to the other side. So, and then there's the last one that I'm going to talk about is from August through December. There's the Jupiter squares Pluto and opposes Uranus. And that is a big, large collective thing. Pluto is collective consciousness. Pluto is great cultural, governmental structure. And so, what's Jupiter? Jupiter's our optimism and our ideals, right? And it opposes the great collective. So Pluto kind of protects us from political corruption and things like that, but these two things are coming. So we're going to see what's really going on. We're going to see some uncomfortable truths, and there's a potential loss of hope that it's going to go on with this. So better astrologers than I have predicted the results of the election, and I don't attempt to because I think it's like trying to predict the numbers for winning the lotto. There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of chaos magic or just chaos involved in all of this. No one could have predicted some of these great collective responses to Trump. No one could have predicted that Trump was for real and that people would back him up. I don't even think Trump predicted that. Even people who follow and love Trump didn't predict he would have this big of a following.
No, Trump predicted it.
So-
His
so-
prediction is people love me.
And so I'm not gonna go into that thing, but that's just, there's all this chaos going on, which if you think about all these astrological influences that started last November are in play right now, and then what's gonna happen from here is that creates the chaos. So when you start to come into that fear and frustration later in the year, and we start to get really afraid of what's going to happen, and whether we should move to Canada or not.
Canada's saying that's not a better choice, the way their politics are going.
Well, we all, there's those fears that are coming up, and they're more global fears. They're more big community, big governmental structure fears. But here's the challenge with all those is that those fears are only a reflection of what's going on inside you. And so you have, for this one, you have stability for Jupiter, spiritual cleansing for Pluto, because that's that big outlying planet that deals with the outer ridges of your life, but also the deepest issues. And then needed change for Uranus. And that's to help you move through all these changes and stay in a place of optimism for your own life and release the fears that are being perpetuated. This is not where you thought this class was going to go, is it? But this is important stuff because you can become very frustrated in what you're moving through. I was, when I was like doing this, what's the energy of the year? Let's do this class. I think this will be a great class to tap into. And then I'm doing my research and I'm reading and I'm talking to my astrologers and I'm doing this. I'm like, oh shit. This was not how I want it to work. So again, all of these energies, how does this work for you? It helps you from hiding under the bed and not knowing why you're hiding under the bed. The more you don't deal with all of these energetic influences in your life, no matter where they come from, the planets, the energy, the politics, your neighbor, your work, the more you don't deal with that energy and address that energy, the more prevalent it becomes. Ain't that the truth? It's there to teach you something, and when you decide you don't want to learn it, it doesn't matter, because it's going to teach you anyway, because it's right there. It's like the thorn in your side. You're not going to wish it away. You got to do the work to get it out. So, for instance, Saturn squaring Neptune can give birth to really big creativity. Think about that. You have your fantasies and your ideals and your delusions, but then now you gotta, it's squaring that Saturn, so Saturn's going, hey, how you gonna manifest that? And then you do some problem solving, you go, oh, I've got an idea. I've got a big idea. And then it wraps itself into the number 9 of the year, and you say, I know how to finish this up with flourish. Jupiter squaring Saturn, just so you know that's called Jupiter right there. You're getting all of the blocks out of your way, so that's why we're completing things. So when you feel like you're, again, walking through molasses, you can't get to the other side, say, okay, hang on. What's left undone? Because really, let's take a new ideal here. You're not walking through molasses. You got a rope tied to you back there on something that you didn't finish, and you're like, and it's holding you back. So retreat and say, okay, what didn't I finish? What do I need to, what blocks are in the way? What do I need to look at one more time to gain that piece of wisdom for me, so then you can move on? And here's the great thing is that this 9 energy, if you're really smart about it, you could do all your finishing early, and then you get to coast. Why not? I'll do it. So this is all about pre-work. I know, Geraldine, I'm sure you have taught about pre-work in magic. You might have. To deal with that underlying issue, to deal with what's really going on, to prepare yourself for doing the magical work. There's more than one way to prepare yourself, and one is addressing that energy. So here's the big takeaway besides the word wait and the word release. How many people here have done the why is that exercise? Okay. This is one of the most powerful magical tools you will ever use. And that is to ask a question. Within questions there is power. The person who asks the questions is the person who's running the room, because everybody's working to answer them. So run your own room. Ask your own question. And that is, when you have a challenge or an issue that you want to do magic for, you want to burn a candle for, the first thing you need to do is you need to ask yourself, why is that? Now, it's simple, but a little bit more complicated. It's easy, but more complicated is you got to get into it, and you got to really understand it, and you got to answer from that primal monkey brain, lizard brain part of yourself, because that's where the true answer is. So here's what we're going to do this. So I want everybody to think about something that challenges them, that they would need to work through. Make it simple. Don't make it your biggest problem. Something that you're working through. If you're having a hard time with, you keep coming up on a roadblock. Think about how it frustrates you, pisses you off, disappoints you, breaks your heart a little. Right? So think about all that stuff, wrap it all up, bring it into a nice big ball of energy. Feel it from your toes to your nose. And while you're thinking about it, I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to answer with the very first thing you think of in the nanosecond. So let's think about that again. What is that thing that's annoying you? Think about it. Feel it. Feel it in your nerve endings. Feel it in the back of your spine. I'm going to ask you this question. What's the problem? And you got the answer in the nanosecond. Everybody get that? And now if you say you got nothing, what that means is you overthought it. You got to think, and then you got to like connect with that thing that came to you before you decided it was nothing. Because it doesn't seem real. It seems crazy. It could be aliens. You could say, why can't I pass that test? It's because the aliens. Wait, what? But it's true. I mean, I've had that, gone through this exercise, and it's like the aliens popped up, and so then you got to go back into it. And you got to grab that answer. So everybody grab that answer, because it's never the first thing. The first thing that you get out of that first answer you get is your trickster, your inner saboteur. Wants to derail you, wants to make you think you're crazy. So let's take that problem in your head. Let's take that first answer you got. Let's think about that first answer that you got. And then you say, Well, why is that the answer? And you're going to get your second answer. And sometimes you got to go for your third answer or your fourth answer, but then you're getting closer and closer to that core truth. And as you get closer and closer to that core truth, you get your own inner astrological planetary influences of what's really going on. So who got a different answer the second time? Did it give you a little more clarity? You want to do it one more time? All right. Think about that answer you got. I usually go 3 times because it's like first you get the trickster, then you get the non-believer, and then you get the answer. So get that second answer in your head and ask yourself one more time, why is that? And then you see how this, you start challenging yourself. You go, that's how you go deeper and deeper and deeper into what the real magic is, what the real healing is that you need. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? When you start to feel that and learn that, you go, oh, I don't like that piece about myself. I do it at work. I do it with my daughter. I do it with my husband. I do it with my own personal issues. Because I say, okay, wait, what's the real problem here? I have people in front of me arguing and they're not getting along and they're blaming each other for something, and I say, okay, before I jump into the middle of this crisis and put my 2 cents in, which is usually smacking you around, why is this an issue? What's the real core reason? Oh, the real core reason? Oh, they're both trying to establish their territories. They're both new. They're trying to establish what they do and their authority. And they feel like each other's interfering with their authority. Okay. So why is that? Why do they feel challenged in each other's authority? Oh, okay, I get it. And it might take a minute, but we ask these questions. Why do you feel each other challenging each other's authority? It's usually something going on inside of them, right? So why is that thing going inside of you and that thing going on inside of you rearing its ugly head right now? Oh, and here was a kicker. We have not established trust in our business yet with our new crew. Ooh, didn't that hurt? I'm a very trustworthy person. I don't understand why this is going on. But it was like, now I know what I need to do. I don't need to bash heads together. I need to do the opposite. We need to establish trust. When we establish trust, then we can start understanding that we're all working on the same team, rowing in the same way, driving on the same bus. So you can, this year, when you get frustrated with things, ask yourself those things like, have I left something unfinished? What do I need to know about this situation? What's the blind spot? You can ask yourself what your blind spot is, and a lot of times you get an answer. It's because it's a blind spot because you don't want to see it. What action of mine has affected this or created this? Is this something I have to wait on? Is that word right? And what do I already know that I'm not seeing? It's not what you wanted, is it? You wanted an answer that says all you need to do is burn these 2 candles all year long and you'll be fine. But no, it's a little bit more work. So you start looking and seeing what's the challenge in front of you and start creating some answers. Now, I think we have time. I usually leave about a half hour at the end of this specific class to start going for questions. What is challenging you? What candle combinations? What things can we talk about? How can we help you resolve that? How can we help you grab that energy? So, who has questions about candle magic, about any part of candle magic?
I'll give one. You talked about the exhaustion and feeling that. What can we do specifically for that?
Specifically for that, exhaustion is that first blend, which is the stability,
Okay.
the truth and justice, and the heart.
Okay.
That has been helping for exhaustion because if you think about with the number 9, you start to feel a little untethered. So the stability helps you tether back and when to the earth. Finish that statement. Helps you tether back to the earth, which then is a big source of energy. And then speaking from your truth. Isn't it exhausting when we cannot speak from our truth? It's pretty exhausting when we cannot speak from our truth. And then rather than throwing a lot of more energy on that, which makes everything a bit hotter, throw some inner wisdom on there, which is the heart candle. And that's gonna help a lot with that energy, is speaking from your heart, speaking your truth, and being solid and confident. Because when you walk into a situation, it's really interesting. Yesterday morning, I love how life gives me examples, and I don't know why it's giving me examples. So I'm a part of a group of entrepreneurs who we rotate who's meeting together, and we meet once a month for a year. And we learn and we challenge each other in business. Well, I'm ending up with the same facilitator from last year's group, this year's group. And I was not happy last year. Every time I would leave the group, I was exhausted, I was tired, I was pissed off, I just didn't want to go back. But I realized this time what happened is I was not confident. Because when I went back, it's a new group of people, I'm in a new place, I've learned some new things, I have a new level of confidence, which is that stability candle, which is when you're filled with that earth energy. I came in with a different level of confidence because not a fuck was given when I went in. I went in going,
I didn't see that candle on here.
yeah. It's also known as a stability candle.
You have to ask Dorothy about that one.
That's the zero fucks candle?
That's the zero fucks candle. I might need to move up that a little more.
to come up
Yeah.
a newer line.
I would. No, it's just it's the same candle. Just gotta tell you how to use it. So it was really interesting. But when you are, I wrote a great article on this about not giving a fuck and what that really means. What that really means is I'm not here to please you. It's moving away from people pleasing and giving your energy away and giving your power away to somebody else. When you give a fuck, you're giving your power away because you really care about what's going on. But I walked in with not giving a fuck. And I'm like, well, I was not happy last year. If this is the same routine this year, I quit it. I get my money back. I'm good to go. And I went in, and I went in with confidence, and I went in with a new knowledge base, and everyone looked at me completely differently. They responded to me completely differently. They waited for me to agree or validate, and I'm like, well, I like this. I like this much better. So that's where that energy, when you're walking into something without the confidence, you're you're burning all that energy, all that spiritual energy, and it just hurts after a while. So you like that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of not giving out a fuck, they were giving you their fucks.
Pretty much. All the fucks.
Nah. So who else has a challenge that they want to meet?
How heavy do you want to get?
We did talk.
Yeah.
We did talk about that, and honestly, that the Neptune, the Saturn squaring Neptune combination, which is the stability, emotional balance, and happiness, that is exactly where you are. Because you're caught in all the Neptune energy, that deep emotion. Because if you think about it, Neptune is in the sea, our emotions are deep. And so emotions unchecked, emotions without structure, emotions without stability, take us really, really deep and take us into a place of delusion and obsession and confusion. And because they're real, not real, they, remember the nebulous, Neptune is very nebulous. Emotions become very nebulous, they become very circular. And so this leads to this, and then you have, I don't want to say I'm not validating how you're feeling. Validating your feelings is really important because then that allows them to have structure. And once they have structure, you know how to deal with them. But when they circle in your brain, that's obsessive thinking, that's unhealthy thinking. So sometimes you gotta yank them out of the nebulous cloud, out of the ethers, and bring them into some reality so you can see them. And when you see them and they become tangible, then you can start to work with them.
I think what she's telling us, give yourself some permission to go ahead, give a nod, acknowledge them.
Mm-hmm.
And once you give them a knowledge, then they will let you know why they're there.
And with that, that means when they've become real, then you can get help. When you allow them to come out and say, I need assistance with this because I don't know what the next step is, then you can feel confident, not confident, but you feel better or more or less crazy about getting help, the help that you need. Because it, you know how when someone says, okay, you're throwing a new dinner party, you're throwing a dinner party and you got all this stuff going on, let me know if you need any help, and you're like, I don't know what I need. Show up and I'll give you something. It's kind of that you don't know what you need until you allow it to start to take form. And that sucks, and that's the process.
You talked about how the sunshine lollipops and rainbow candy approach to manifestation doesn't really work, and the reality of it is work and pain and suffering. How do you process through all that without having to rely on the happy thoughts all the time mentality?
That's a really great question, and I'll tell you what I've been learning recently. It's a very powerful thing. Make friends. Make friends with the pain. The pain's there for a reason. The pain is there to teach you something. Your pain is there to teach you how deeply and blessedly you love. That's the pain. So the pain's there to teach you something. It's protecting something. It's holding a belief in place. It helped you through a crisis, because that's what our ego does. Our ego creates beliefs and fears and all this stuff to help us get through the crisis that seems completely insurmountable. And so we're brilliant. Oh my gosh, our brains and our spirits are just amazing, and we have these amazing tools to get into them. So as I was reading, amazing author Janine Roth, who wrote the book Women, Food, and God. Don't worry about the God words; anybody can imply.
Yeah, just as the two.
And so she talks about how when you get to that issue, when you get to that pain and that fear, make friends with it, because it has served you. It has worked for you. It has helped you get to where you are. And so then you say, well, what, and she has a whole process in there where she talks about, and it's like, oh, look, it's a spell. She says, first of all, find out where in your body it exists. So where's that pain? Where does it hurt? Does it hurt in your hip? Does it hurt in your back? Is it a headache? Is it just in your pinky finger and that's just where it is? What is its lesson? And it takes a while to go through it. It's not a moment. But sometimes it's helpful to feel it in your body somewhere, because then that makes it tangible. It gives it some structure. And then you start talking to it. Well, what did you do for me? How did you help me? How did you serve me? What did you help me get through? And then you thank it. And you thank that pain. And if you don't think that works, I'm here standing in front of you because it does. We've all been through our journey and our pain and our struggles, and none, no matter what it is greater than another one, no matter what it is. It's all relative to who you are. I can't say somebody who's been through a war has had more pain than somebody who has been through their own personal war of whatever it is. Because it's all relative to who we are today. And when you go through that process and you make friends with it, there's in the Coventry Magic book I have the Hindu prayer for the body, and really what it is it's about thanking your body for getting you to where you are today, and it's about loving and supporting yourself and saying, I'm pretty amazing. I've been through a lot of stuff, and I'm here. And then it's forgiving that pain. And a lot of people, when they talk about forgiveness, we all do this. I don't want to forgive anything. Oh, forgive. There's no forgiveness. You can watch, okay, how many people would show up on a class of forgiveness? No one. No one would show up on a class of forgiveness. I would have one, and I would love you for it. How to forgive others who have deeply wounded you.
Oh my God, it sets you free.
And so I started thinking about the word forgive because I started really resenting the word because it was just bandied about and forgive this, forgive that. I'm like, forgive this! So I started looking at the word forgive. And if you think about, I love etymology. I love the origins of words because I think we forget about what a word really means. And sometimes if I'm confused and I don't know what I want to do, I'll start looking up the origin of that word. Well, the origin of the word forgive is very simple. It's really movement. For and give are two words that denote movement. So forgiveness is moving out of the way.
Or forward giving.
And it is just the subtleness of letting go. So when you're solid and you're like something's hitting you hard, but to forgive means I just moved out of the way and I'm not so stubborn. I don't have to own this. This doesn't have to define me. So I can just move out of the way of that pain and let it move on. I can learn from it. But when you are solid and when you are in an unforgiving place, in a very painful place, and you're frozen, and you're the oak tree, and you don't move, all that pain topples you. But when
Strange thing too, though, there can be another thing about movement, and it's called the hamster wheel. We literally will sit there and we think that we're moving forward, and you're not.
that is a great question to ask when you find that you cannot forgive. What hamster wheel am I on? So that's a great. Why is that? I'm moving, but it's not working. Why is that?
Exactly.
Oh, because I'm on the hamster wheel. So that's a great thing right there. Anyone else have a question? That answers the questions? I got lost in that, sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, since you made the class for me, I was last night. Okay, so this is, you know I'm never stumbled. Okay, so this is more moving from a career to your life work. You know, doing that in self-inventory, getting the self-confidence, releasing any of the obstacles, and feeling trapped because of what you need, how people depend on you. So you feel stuck there. And
So what's this year about? Completion.
Yep.
Number 9, finishing it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? So let's grab that energy right now. What needs to be completed and finished? Is there, so that all of those energies of your ideals are battling with your practicality, your optimism is battling with your, with what's true and what's really happening. And then we said that the opportunity here is, I wrote it down because I always forget it. Getting the blocks out of the way. So this is an amazing time for you to, instead of saying, why isn't this manifesting? This is a great time for you to say, all right, what's in my way? So what are the blocks, and then how do I need to work with these blocks? So what I'm actually getting right now for you is that there's some foundations that are not in place. And I'm literally seeing blocks. Structures, paid off, things paid off. So you don't have as big of a need for cash. So you can still live a pretty good life, but there's a lot of extra payments that you're making right now.
Yep.
So work on getting those done. When you get those done, even if you need to live a little lean right now, or make some new choices, those are the blocks. They're financial for you.
Yeah.
They're all financial. But what's interesting is that you're going to have, when you look at those blocks and how they're financial, and then look at what's on the other side of the block of what that fear is. Because, blocks are made up of our fears, our experiences, our beliefs. So what did you experience in the past that anchored into that So it starts with your fear. Your fear creates a belief. Experiences support those beliefs and those fears. So kind of look at that whole combo pack there, what's underneath that, and then it's all about you're on the journey. What's the next step in the plan? And work in that direction. I just was getting a nice message for you. Does that make any sense?
It does, because all of the blocks that we have are financial. They're the water, the lights, the car payment, the rent, you know. It's not like we live frivolous, you know. And if I give up teaching, that fits that goal, but I don't want to teach anymore. So I need to find something that pays equivalent that's, I gotta figure out
But
how
look
to
at
jump.
look at, remember I said, look what's on the other side of that block.
Oh, I know what it is, because
Yeah.
before when I lived in my car and I was homeless,
Yeah.
that's
So
where
that's-
that whole
So
free
that's,
falls.
okay, so then let's look at what's happening with the, even the Neptune squaring Saturn right now. So that Neptune is those deep emotions. So those are those broken emotions that you have, those broken fears. Okay, so now you have an opportunity to pull those in and heal them with that energy of Saturn. Okay, so work there. So I knew it was around money, literally blocks.
Yeah,
They're literally, was there?
but see, this time it's not just me, I have all of the guys with me.
Absolutely. So that makes it even more important. So if you work on, so what happens is that we prove what we believe. Okay, so our job in our physical world is to manifest our beliefs. And our beliefs are built from our fears and experiences. So if our beliefs are built from our fears and experiences, right, and then we live our life proving those beliefs, so you will always make sure that you can't take the big risk that might land you back in your car. So there will be little things that happen in your life that will chip away. Like, oh gosh, I've done this to myself so many times and there's so many examples, but do you all understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So we always work to prove what we believe.
We will, yeah.
So find that belief. Work from that place. And it's all about money, baby. It's all about money. And here's the stupid thing about money. And it's a very stupid thing about money. It's only energy. Money is only energy, and we move energy all the time. So what stops us from moving that energy in the way we need to? Moving the right amount of energy in, and why do we always feel that there's never going to be enough? And so what is it that's broken within you? And it's a slow process. It's not a fast process. If it was a fast process, it would be like giving someone a fish. When you win the lotto, there is so much negative energy that comes with that, with winning the lotto, just because there's so much jealousy that comes with that. There's so much, did I deserve this? It's just kind of crazy. But if you win $1 million, it's going to be gone, and you can triple how much is going to be gone after you won that $1 million. When you earn $1 million and there's $1 million in your bank, you make those pennies bleed. Because it took a lot to earn that $1 million. But that's the difference between working the process of healing versus going to immediate healing. When we go to immediate healing, we don't value the process and we don't value how it got there. But you're heading in that direction. So this is going to be a great year to work on all those blocks, because if you work on them, if you work on those beliefs that are holding you back right now, specifically this year, they're done.